National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening. This is the National News Broadcast. I'm Movin Hettiarachchi. Joining me is Dulanjali Ananda. Today is the 30th of November and here are today's headlines. Signs emerge on the ability to reduce interest rates. A passenger ship from Colombo to Hambantota. Queries as to why the compensation from the Express Pearl ship is not in dollars. There will be no shortage of eggs during Christmas time. The association says egg prices may come down in January. A problem relating to organic fertilizer in Galle. Sri Lankan catering in new efforts to popularize local food varieties. An experimental drug with potential to treat the Alzheimer's disease.
Now for those and other stories in detail. Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe says the budget of 2023 has presented necessary progressive policies for economic restructuring.
A somewhat reduction in inflation has been recorded in the past few months. The governor adds, therefore, there is a possibility to reduce the interest rates in the future. He made these remarks addressing an international conference held in Colombo today under the theme A Path Towards Economic Reconstruction in Sri Lanka. The event was organized by the Sri Lanka Engineering and Technology Institute, which is considered as the biggest professional engineering forum in Europe. It was established in the year 1871. A representative institute of the forum was set up in Sri Lanka in 1935. Representatives of the IMF, the Asian Development Bank, also attended the meeting.
In the stabilization process, what we are experiencing basically right now in terms of macroeconomic imbalances is mainly the very high inflation. Right now, last month it was went up to 70%, now it is the downward trend. And also very high fiscal deficits. Government revenues been declining, expenditure has been rising. Debt of the sovereign government has been rising and became unsustainable, and our ability to service debt obligations was now no longer there. So we had to announce a debt standstill, and then we are seeking for restructuring our debt obligations going forward. This what we are trying to do is to recover and stabilize first. First, they bring down the inflation and provide for essential imports, and at least country would be able to do business in a smooth way without having long queues and waiting for all the petrol, diesel and gas. In the stabilization process, first priority is to tighten monetary policy in terms of raising interest rates. That's how we have been able to manage the situation now, curtail the demand for a lot of things and slow down the economy, and so that we can manage with whatever foreign exchange earnings we are getting in terms of exports and remittances. This is a first priority from the central bank point of view, because this is the central bank response. Key objective of the central bank is to maintain price stability in terms of maintaining a low and stable inflation. But we think several years we were able to maintain inflation around mid-single digit 5%, but over the sudden last 2 years starting going up as a money printing, and then now we peaked inflation at 70%. On the monetary policy side is that we see inflation now turn around from the peak of close to 70%, and we see last month inflation came down further, both Colombo Consumer Price Index and National Consumer Price Index. And today, what we need to monitor today, the month-end Consumer Price Index. We expect that to come down further, and this inflation trend will continue based on our predictions. This is where we think now we can bring down the interest rates, especially the market interest rates that has gone up to about 30%, and it is now trending downwards as well. Last two treasury bill auctions and bond auctions, we see that trend already started. For us to bring down interest rates and address inflation, will have to be a supportive fiscal policy. That is where the Parliament recently approved what they call interim budget, then the budget for 2023, with policies to address fiscal imbalance that I talk about, which is to curtail the government fiscal deficit to a more sustainable level, so that government can manage much easier than they have been doing in the past several years. For that, I think government has already submitted a package of revenue or tax package to the parliament that probably will be passed soon. And once that is implemented, and already some parts of taxes have already been implemented as a result, now we see government revenues also increasing. ADB, World Bank are basically looking at and the opportunity for them to enhance their financial support to Sri Lanka, especially in the areas of social safety net, support the people who have been affected because of the high inflation, the economic crisis, the incomes, real incomes have gone down, and for them, priority for the government is support people who have been worst affected, the low-income people. Their ADB and World Bank is already support. All the difficult measures have already been implemented. But we can see the result of all difficult measures will ease the situation, will stabilize the economy, and once you stabilize the economy from next year onwards, that is the path of recovery. This is why we need to continue moving in this direction without turning back.
In the meantime, main Shift 5 passenger vessel carrying 2,534 foreign tourists has arrived in the Colombo harbour yesterday.
It has reached the Hambantota harbour this morning. Passengers of the ship were engaged in tours at the Yala, Badulla, Udavalava, Kataragama, Gaul and Hambantota areas. This was the first instance of a passenger ship arriving in Hambantota harbour after the corona pandemic. "51,865 foreign tourists have visited Sri Lanka from the 1st to the 27th of this month. This is regarded as an appreciative achievement at a time of an economic and political crisis. It has been pointed out that the preferences of the foreigners to travel in Sri Lanka have been amply demonstrated by the arrival of more than 50,000 tourists by this month. The daily arrival was 1,920 tourists. The total number of tourist arrivals during the year in the island have been increased to 620,123. Out of this number, 12,482 were from countries of the Russian Federation, 9,300 Indian nationals and more than 4,000 United Kingdom nationals, as well as more than 3,000 German nationals have visited Sri Lanka during the year.
State Minister Arundhika Fernando says that it is a matter of regret to find the Department of Attorney General agreed to receive the compensation by rupees instead of US dollars over the Express Pearl ship disaster.
He has made these remarks in response to a query raised by opposition leader Sajith Premadasa regarding the Express Pearl ship in Parliament today. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that fishing industry in the western coast was severely affected as a result of the heavy environmental damage caused due to burning of the Express Pearl ship in the Sri Lankan Sea territory in May 2021. The opposition leader has questioned whether proper distribution of compensation among fishing community had taken place and whether the damage was fully compensated.
State Minister Arundhika Fernando said compensations amounting to 348 million rupees have been delivered to affected persons in Gampaha, 335 million rupees to victims in Colombo and 781 million rupees to affected persons in Kalutara. He added, however, it is regretful that the compensation is being paid in Sri Lankan rupees. Earlier, compensation amounting to $7 billion had been agreed upon, and this amount has now come down to $3 billion. He has criticised the role played by the Attorney General's department regarding receiving the compensation. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says non-involvement in direct manner by countries which are able to provide effective solutions to the problem of climate change could become a threat to future existence of the entire mankind.
The President has made these remarks in a special statement on the COP27 agreement. President Ranil Wickremesinghe in his statement has added that the biggest hindrance towards the success of the COP27 conference is politicization and the practice of bidding for time. The world leaders have been banding up for 27 years under the COP flag to withstand the rigors of climate change. However, we have not made any headway in implementing a universal and a cooperative plan as agreed upon through the COP mechanism. The President has also pointed out that the agreements reached at the COP27 conference have not been strong enough to lead the world towards a progressive remedies. He adds that the most regretful obstruction is the politicization and unnecessary delays in plan implementation. President Wickremesinghe added that a huge impediment towards future programs related to climatic change has been that the head of state of countries who are in the position to provide effective changes to climatic changes are not participating in the conference. He has further stated that the countries in the southern hemisphere, located closer to the equator, have been compelled to fight for the setting up of a loss and damage fund, regarded as a partial victory for southern nations. Their efforts have been fruitful as an outcome of the pressures enforced by the G77 nations in the past few years. However, strong drawbacks have been recorded in identifying the nations responsible for the procurement of financial contributions in the correct direction. Responsibilities of the sources of setting up of the fund on regarding allocations for provision of compensation have not been declared. The President in his message has further pointed out that as a result it has become necessary to carry forward a campaign continuously to rectify shortcomings in order to the program to be implemented confidently.
All Ceylon Egg Producers Association says eggs will be issued to the market without a shortage during the festive season. It has been pointed out at a media briefing of the association in Colombo today that there is a possibility of a reduction in eggs prices from January next year. Meanwhile, there were further hearings on a petition submitted to annul a Gazette notification of the Consumer Affairs Authority, imposing a guaranteed price for egg sales that was ordered to be postponed till the 14th of December by the Court of Appeal. It was filed by the All Ceylon Egg Producers Association. Meanwhile, the association rejects the accusations launched by the All Ceylon Medium-Scale Chicken Producers Association that there is a mafia to increase egg prices island-wide. Minister of Trade Nalin Fernando also expressed opinion in this regard in Parliament today.
Now, the votes of the Ministries of Industries, Trade, Commerce and Food Security and Plantation Industries were taken up for discussion in the committee stage debate in Parliament today.
Parliamentarian Buddhika Patharana has requested the minister to draft an internal trade policy for the ministry. He has also questioned as to why revising the Consumer Affairs Authority Act are not being presented in Parliament as declared by Minister Bandula Gunawardena.
Minister Nalin Fernando said that all measures have been taken to alter the Consumer Affairs Authority Act. It will be presented to the Attorney General to receive approval. He added that the price of rice has increased to 275 rupees as a result of the fertilizer problem. He said that they have been able to control the price increases of rice and eggs. Now, votes of the Ministries of Education, Women's, Children's Affairs and Social Empowerment will be debated in Parliament tomorrow.
The budget has set aside 510 billion rupees for the development of 162 schools with lesser facilities. 200 million rupees has been reserved for the enhancement of sanitary facilities. The budget has also reserved 152 billion rupees for the empowerment of Ministry of Women's, Children Affairs and Social Empowerment. Funds have been reserved for 15 affiliated institutions of the ministry. The budget has also focused attention on provision of Samruddhi relief to 1.7 million families and to implement 440 livelihood development projects. The President has presided over a discussion to identify lands for promotion of tourism industry in Batiklo district today.
The meeting has focused attention on identifying the government and private lands on the coastal line from Verugal Aru to Batiklo. The meeting conducted at the President's office has also dealt with the issues of developing Batiklo as a tourist zone in the coming year. Accordingly, Batiklo will be made the best tourist destination. District Secretary and several divisional secretaries have also attended the talks over Zoom's technology. Meanwhile, President's Media Division has reiterated that media reports pertaining to President's preparations to set up district development committees in place of provincial councils is false. The President's Media Division also says that several media have misinterpreted speech made by President Ranil Wickremesinghe in Parliament yesterday in a manner to distort the meaning. The President, in response to a statement by member Maithripala Sirisena in budget debate in Parliament yesterday, said that district development committees will be set in provincial councils. Now, the organic fertilizer requirement in the Galle district is around 2,500 tons.
It has been reported that 750 tons have already been distributed. Meanwhile, the District Coordinating Committee has decided to suspend the distribution of fertilizer not conforming to the standards. The National Fertilizer Secretariat, in response to our queries, said samples of the distributed organic fertilizer stock has been subjected to investigations. Director of the Secretariat, Chandana Lokuhevage, says a certain quality of sand may have been included in the feldspar dolomite and the Epavala rock phosphate, which are main ingredients of the organic fertilizer. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena has ordered authorities to make immediate measures to hand over unutilized land in Sitavaka to youth of the constructive cultivation.
He has given the orders at a regional coordinating committee meeting at the Sitavaka Divisional Secretariat today. This was the first meeting conducted upon appointment of a new chairman for divisional development committees. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena is the chairman of the coordinating committee in the Sitavaka and Maharagama Divisional Secretariat division. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said that the development committees should receive information from the ground level in order to identify industries to be developed in the province. The Prime Minister, after the ceremony, was engaged in an inspection tour of vegetable cultivations using organic fertilizer at the office premises of the Divisional Secretariat. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena has conducted talks with a group of World Bank representatives yesterday. The World Bank representatives were reported to have expressed satisfaction over the short-term measures taken by the government to relax the economic condition. Local Director of the World Bank, Shio Khanda, has also attended the meeting. Now, the Sri Lankan catering company has commenced a program to popularize local food items among global air travelers.
Accordingly, indigenous food are available at restaurants at Katanaika Bandaranaika Airport and also at the Mattala International Airport. There are around 900 employees at the Sri Lankan catering company. The main responsibility entrusted upon them is to provide foods and beverages daily to around 25,000 global passengers. The company is catering around 100 aircrafts on a daily basis. The new food menus have been prepared in the most attractive manner. They include many foods inherent to Sri Lanka. A meal with traditional curries including types of indigenous forms of rice. The food is being made more tasteful and smelly with the inclusion of nutritious kurakan, ginger, cinnamon, nutmegs and karapincha. The desserts are normally comprised of traditional local varieties including buffalo curd, ripened jackfruit and sweetmeats. In addition, tourists are being treated with beverages to enhance the extra immunity such as king coconuts, local cucumber, bee honey, pineapples and komarika. Notable achievement by the Sri Lankan Airlines in the recent past has been winning of the award for the best airline catering and seating facilities of the airline in South Asia in 2023 Apex Passenger Choice Awards in Singapore. Minister Kehelia Rambukwala says rumoured points out that shortages in essential medicines, but in reality there is shortages do not exist.
The minister, participating in the advisory committee meeting of the Ministry of Health in Parliament, recently said that a sum of $28 million granted by China to Sri Lanka for the supply of 14 types of essential drugs are being utilised for procurement of medicines. The minister further said that $200 million on Indian credit line have also been reserved to fulfill needs in the health sector. In addition, the cabinet has granted approval for the utilization of the remaining $35 million out of the $1 billion of Indian credit line for the supply of drugs. The parliamentarians of the committee have also focused attention on the overcharging at private hospitals. The MPs have further pointed out that patients are compelled to seek the services at the private hospitals due to lack of proper maintenance at government hospitals as well as the inability of the state sector to supply necessary medical equipment. The minister has pointed out that under the present economic setup, the middle-income groups are unable to continue receiving private hospital facilities. He added that as a result, it has been anticipated that the number of patients directing towards government hospitals would increase up to a nearly 30%.
A media briefing to inform on the 19th Raigam Tele Awards was held at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute yesterday. The board of organisers say convening of application for the Teledrama Awards will be conducted from the 1st to the 15th of January 2023. Revealing of the nominated names will take place at Waters Edge Bathramulla on the 24th of February 2023. The awards nights will be conducted at Shangri-La Hotel in Colombo on the 25th of March 2023.
Now, Cave Fiesta, organized by the Embassy of South Korea, was held recently at Racecourse Colombo. The event was filled with various cultural activities and Korean pop performances. The Cave Fiesta South Korean Cultural Festival was opened for the supporters and Cave fandom in Sri Lanka. The public was able to experience and enjoy an array of Korean cuisine and K-pop merchandise at the festival. People also had the opportunity to participate in K-pop Random Play Dance Challenge at the festival, which was organized for the first time in Sri Lanka. Ambassador of South Korea in Sri Lanka, Santosh Wunjinjeong, and the mission envoys were present at this occasion. And that's all the news we have from home. Stay tuned for international stories coming up next.
இந்த பண்டிகை காலத்தில் தேர்ந்தெடுக்கப்பட்ட விற்பனை நிலையங்களில் பீப்பிள்ஸ் பேங்க் கிரெடிட் கார்டுக்கு 60% வரையிலான விலை கழிவுகளை பெற்றிடுங்கள். அத்துடன் வட்டியில்லா தவணை கொடுப்பனவு திட்ட வசதிகளை மேலதிக சலுகையாக பெற்று மகிழ்ந்திடுங்கள்.
Foreign news. Researchers have hailed the dawn of a new era of Alzheimer's therapies after a clinical trial confirmed that the drug slows cognitive decline in patients with early stages of the disease.
The results come after decades of failure in the field and encourage experts to say Alzheimer's, which affects 30 million people worldwide, could be treatable. The drug, lecanemab, is an antibody therapy that removes the clumps of protein called beta amyloid, which builds up in the brain. It is unclear how much clumps drive Alzheimer's, but in patients with inherited forms of the disease, they may appear to way of the cascade of the brain changes that steadily destroys the brain cells. Lecanemab's developers, Biogen in the United States and Eisai in Japan, announced the top line of results from the clinical trial of 1,800 patients in September. But research in the field have been anxiously waited for the field data, which was published in Tuesday in the New England Journal of Medicine. This showed the drug reducing the decline in patients' overall mental skills by 27% over 18 months, a modest but significant result. Alzheimer's accounts for nearly two-thirds of the 55 million people living with dementia worldwide. It is the leading cause of death in the United Kingdom. Patients typically die within 7 years of diagnosis. For decades, efforts slow to halt the or reverse the disease have been failed, costing pharmaceutical companies billions of dollars and enforcing some to leave the field altogether.
The NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has accused Russia of trying to use winter as a weapon of war, as he called on member states to pledge more aid for Ukraine amid Moscow's relentless attacks on the country's power infrastructure. Russian attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure have left millions of people without power, heat, water, as winter temperatures have plummeted to below zero. In a statement on Tuesday, NATO ministers meeting in the Romanian capital Bucharest condemned Russia's persistent and unconscionable attacks on Ukrainian civilian and energy infrastructure and confirmed a 2008 decision.
Prima, cut to me, Fanta.